Hello viewers, welcome back to Machine Art channel, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. I want to say a very big thank you to our new and returning subscribers. It is because of you that we make exciting and educating videos every week. Today on this channel, I'll be talking about surrogacy as a solution to childlessness when it pertains to a woman. We have different conditions that may make a woman or a man childless, thereby couples not having a child in their marriage. Now, one of the reasons why a woman may not be able to carry her own children could be because she has a medical condition like sexually transmitted disease. It could be as a result of too much inhalation and consumption of chemicals. It could be as a result of rhesus factor. If the rhesus factor between her and her husband do not match, the woman may not be able to carry on with the pregnancy. And it could be that the womb itself has a problem. So, what is surrogacy? Surrogacy is the science and the act of carrying a child from when the embryo is fertilized, usually 5 days old, until the embryo is matured enough to be given birth to as a human. That is surrogacy. In surrogacy, the surrogate mother is not usually the biological or blood mother of the child. This method is adopted because the woman herself cannot carry the embryo in her womb, or because she doesn't want to carry the embryo. And there are situations, there are scenarios where a woman may want to have many children with her spouse at once. All right. Now, what makes a surrogate mother not the biological mother of the children or the child? What makes a surrogate mother not to be the biological mother of the child, even though she carried the child in her womb and even though she gave birth to the child? What makes her not to be the biological mother is because her egg was not fertilized. So, supposing that a DNA test is carried out to determine the genetic codes of the child will be carrying the genetic codes of the woman whose egg was fertilized, as well as her ancestors down the line. And the child will be carrying the genetic codes of the man whose sperm cell was fertilized down to his generations. So you see, a surrogate mother is the birth mother and the one who carries the child. And once she's done carrying the child, the couples will retrieve the child from her. Before she carries the child, it has to be legally transacted. It has to be done through the law. When she's carrying the pregnancy, the couples have to ensure that she's well provided for and her medical bills paid. When the child is born, then in between handling or nursing the child, before handling the child over to the biological parent, the transaction will have to be closed. She will have to sign the papers to show that the child which belongs to these couples, which she carried, she has now handed the child over to the biological parents. All right. So now, how can a woman carry a child that is not her own without sleeping with the father of the child and without being the biological mother of the child? A woman can carry a child that is not her own without having any relationship with either of the couples except the transaction that is in existence because of what we call IVF in biology. Invertrofertilization is what is known as IVF. In invertrofertilization or IVF, the eggs of the woman is usually collected or retrieved during her ovulation period. Your ovulation period is that period that the level of progesterone in your body system becomes higher than the level of estrogen. A woman needs the estrogen, which is the feminine hormone produced by the pituitary gland, in order to produce the eggs in her ovary. Then during ovulation, the level of progesterone gets a little higher so that the uterine wall can be thickened for the woman to be able to carry pregnancy effectively, because the uterine wall is needed to protect the womb. That is what we call ovulation. Ovulation simply means releasing the egg from the ovary, and also that's the maturation of the eggs, and also the uterine wall thickening with the blood that is needed to protect the pregnancy. So the eggs of the biological mother will be retrieved during ovulation. Every woman who sees her period ovulates. That's every woman who sees her menstrual period ovulates. A woman that's a surrogate mother who will carry the children must also be ovulating. So when the eggs of the biological mother of the child is retrieved through IVF, the semen or sperm cells of the husband or the man is collected using a very powerful microscope and some tools that are needed for such operation. The most active sperm cells in the semen, a semen usually contains millions of sperm cells. I'm being direct because I'm a biologist trained by the University of Jos, Nigeria. So the sperm cells of the men, the most active sperm cells, are retrieved from the semen and mixed in a medium with the eggs of the woman. So supposing that the woman wants 5 children to be deposited or to be inserted in the womb of the surrogate mother, so that if one or all of them will survive, if all of the embryos will survive, she will be ready to take care of the child or the children. It will be done so. Then the remaining eggs, you can choose to destroy them or freeze them for next fertilization. You can also freeze the remaining sperm cells. It can usually be freezed for a number of years by experts who have the equipment and technology needed to do that. So the reason for this video is to educate the woman whose anatomy does not really warrant her to carry children, who sees her menstrual periods anyways, that it is possible for her to have children of her own if and only if there is a woman ready to carry the child or children in her womb. So after fertilization, the embryo is meant to fertilize for 5 days. In 5 days, the embryos, that's the fusion of sperm and egg, would have formed an embryo. This embryo is the human being that is still forming. So you will insert this 5-day human being or embryo into the body of the other woman. The woman has to be ovulating. So supposing that the embryos have been formed already, but the surrogate mother is not yet ovulating, her body is not yet ready, they can be kept in a medium until the surrogate mother, that is the woman who will carry them in her womb and give birth to them, is ready. Then they will insert the embryos in her womb by gently bringing out the womb and inserting the embryos. When the embryos are inserted, conception would have taken place because the woman will now be pregnant. She will be pregnant not with her own children, but the children of others. She will carry on with the usual stages of pregnancy, and she will receive all the antenatal and postnatal care just like every other normal woman who has conceived her own children would be or do. So you see, if the resource factor between you and your husband does not match and you're suffering from miscarriages every now and then, surrogacy could be a solution. If you are a sickle cell anemic or you are sickle cell anemic and your own body system cannot really support you to carry your own children, you can look for an option, that's a surrogate mother, and have your own children. Then you have to do yourself a favor. Do not marry a man who has the same sickle cell anemic condition with you. A sickle cell anemic person is a person whose red blood cell is not the normal disc shape, which is amoeboid. It's kind of shapeless. It's not a disc shape like the normal red blood cell, and they suffer as a result of that. The genotype of a sickle cell anemic person is usually SS. An AA genotype is the person that is normal. An AS is a carrier. That is to say that though the person is not sickle cell anemic, but the person will be carrying the sickle cell anemic condition in his or her body. So supposing that a carrier, that's AS, marries a carrier, one of the children will become sickle cell anemic. So a sickle cell anemic person should not marry a carrier or an affected person, that is a sickle cell anemic person. I am not saying this to say that you have to be forced. You can make your own choice, but the choices you make might affect your family health-wise. You will have children that sometimes at the middle of the night you will be running helter skelter. You are at home, you are at work, they call you from time to time. You will need to be doing blood transfusion all the time in order to keep them in shape. So that is the reason why you have to look for a normal person. So supposing that you're sickle cell anemic and your body cannot really support pregnancy, looking for a surrogate mother could be an option. So there are many conditions. If you have sexually transmitted disease, the diseases can be treated. There is the plant for every disease. I would say it like many people who are into herbs say it. People like Patrick Daves. Patrick Daves is on YouTube. He's good with herbs. People like Prince Kailash and so on and so forth. They are on YouTube. As a matter of fact, Prince Kailash has a facility of his own that carry out diagnosis in the lab, that even treat surgically, and every medication they offer to their patients is herbal. They don't mix chemicals at all. They go herbal. Herbal doesn't mean initiating spirits, no. The word herbal is associated with plant use. So when you go to the world of taxonomy, the science of the study and the classification of plants, you will understand why the plant was made for the animal. So you see, plants create a balance, and you will need to be well oriented with the anatomy of the human and the life cycle and anatomy of a disease to understand how to heal the disease. Is it viral? Is it a bacteria? So when you go to the field of bacteriology or virology, you will be able to understand microorganisms that reproduce themselves and microorganisms that replicate themselves. So you can clear your internal environment, that is your anatomy, before you conceive. If you think your body is dirty or your womb is dirty, you can do what we call womb cleansing, and you go on with the natural process of conception. If it is a man that you feel that chemicals have blocked the tubes that transport the sperms from the scrotal sac to the urethra, you can do what we call cleansing in order to free the tubes for free passage. So you see, you can be a surrogate mother by helping another woman or couples and get paid. You can also have your own children, even if you are not the one to carry them in your womb. We have a woman on YouTube that carried her own children at the age of 66. She received fertility treatment even though she had already reached her menopause, and the estrogen level in her body was boosted, and she conceived naturally. We also have a woman who conceived through IVF, even though she had already reached a stage. We have a woman that is 80-something-year-old on YouTube that had her own child at 77. So you see, there is a plant. The reason why we suffer in the world is because we don't interact with plants. So you have to understand the science of plants. As good as plants are, there are plants that can kill. So
become taxonomic, or you can seek professional help taxonomically, or you can seek what we call professional medical engineering to help you solve your problem. If your husband has a low sperm count, or you feel that he cannot really impregnate a woman, you will be surprised that when his semen is collected, there will be some sperm cells that are still active in the semen. They can be picked and fertilized with your egg. And if you, the woman, has nothing wrong with you, the embryos can be inserted in your womb, you will be pregnant. And all in all, nobody may even know what you have passed through. It takes less than an hour, just 30 minutes to collect your eggs. It takes just 30 minutes to insert the eggs in you. And you carry on with the pregnancy as you are receiving care, just like every other pregnant woman, until you give birth. So you see, it's as simple as ABC. So many teaching hospitals in Nigeria and in diaspora, and many labs that are known to do very good medical work can do this. If you want to go for IVF, 200, 300,000 naira can separate you from childlessness. So you see, is it worth carrying the problem or worth trying? So you can embrace the solutions in the medical field today and stop suffering alone. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with your loved ones, and subscribe to Machine Art channel for more uploads. Thank you.